Hey, my name's Tucker. I'm an addict in recovery.
All right, so tell me, what was the turning point or the biggest influence in your recovery journey?
So this one is kind of one of my favorite questions. It's really hard to explain. There was like a moment in my life where I was out and I was partying back in 2020, and I just had a recognition in a room. So I had overdosed in October 2020, and then when I come back, instead of like having a realization that maybe I should stop and have a problem, or that I had a problem, I looked at all my friends and I said, okay, well, it's Halloween, so let's go party all night. And then I ended up out in a shop surrounded with a bunch of people, and they were older. Everybody was out using still. It was like 7:30 in the morning. We'd been up all night. Been up for a couple days actually, and I just remember hearing the birds chirping and kind of looking around, and it was like the whole room went clear for just a minute and everything went silent. But I was still seeing everything, and then I kind of started laughing a little bit, and everybody was like kind of wondering what was going on, and I just said, like, you know what, when I hit this age, I don't want to be anything like anyone here. Like I want my life back. Like this isn't who I am. And just I don't know what it was, but I just felt like this huge wave of energy that said, you know what, it was finally time, because for years before, my family was literally waiting for the phone call for like me to be dead or I was in jail. And I remember walking across town, and it was now about 7:45 in the morning, and I called my one aunt, and I hadn't talked to her for a long time actually, and I was tearing up, and she kind of asked what was wrong, and all I had to say was I was ready, and right away she knew what was going on, and they raced to town and they picked me up and they took me out to their place. It's just like when you know, everyone always asks me, when are you gonna, like, how am I gonna know? You'll know. Like it'll just be a thing. Like you can't even explain how it feels. And at that point in my life, I knew I really wanted to get sober again.
Good, man. So speaking of like strong feelings, how do you personally handle moments where you think about relapsing, or you get those urges?
So when I was in treatment, they always said play the tape to the end, and I didn't quite understand what that meant at first, but lots of people glorify on all the good times from using, the good times from partying, but when you're in sobriety and you're trying to remain sober and you're having a bad day, instead of thinking about how that could make you feel better for that short amount of time, because it's literally only going to be like maybe 15 minutes, and then you're going to have to do it again and again and again, and next thing you know, you're right back to square one. I just always remember how sick I was when I walked through the door at detox, how many days I could barely move and leave the bed, the nightmares. I remember the looks on my family's faces when they would see me in the condition I was in, and you just gotta so you play the tape to the end, remember everything. Yeah, there was good times, no doubt about it, but you gotta remember the bad stuff, and like the people leaving your life, the people not wanting to be around you. When I was partying, I thought I was a really good time, but looking back now, nobody wanted to be around you. And now in sobriety, I can see that.
Yeah, man. So what were the first positive changes that you saw right away in your recovery, and how did that motivate you to keep going?
So it took probably, the first few weeks is really like just kind of getting your health back, sleeping lots, eating right, kind of regaining your energy. You're gonna be sore, your body's been numb for so long, you've lost all your natural painkiller in your body because you've been subsidizing it with something else. So I was really sore and foggy for the first month or so probably, and then after that you start to get your memory back, you're really starting to feel again. And it takes time. Like everybody thinks, I've been sober for 3 days. How come nobody is like trusting me? Mm-hmm. Well, you've been fucked up for 6 months. Like nobody's gonna trust you after 3 days. So the most powerful thing is rebuilding your relationships, and it takes time, but once you start to get trust back, like that is one of the most rewarding feelings ever.
So for someone who's still struggling with addiction or currently still using, what advice would you offer them based off of your own experience?
So I like to, when I'm talking to other people that are struggling, I like to always relate to my situations, and this is like in a trying to give advice state, I guess. I never like to say like you this or you that, so they feel less attacked. It's more of a say stuff from your experience. So when I be talking to someone, I use a lot of I statements and like my experiences. If someone's still struggling, I would like to right away I'd like to try and find out why they feel like they need to continue to use, or why they feel like they're not good enough. Once I can figure that out, lots of times the most common thing in an addict's life is loss. Loss of family giving up on them, the loss of a spouse giving up on them, people leaving their lives, losing a job. It's like more common than not. I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, my old lady left me, now I'm gonna go on a tear for the next 6 months. Well, I did the same thing, my ex-wife left. I blamed her for my actions, and the reason I'm the way I am now today is because she left me. And when I was in treatment is when I actually had the biggest recognition ever. My counselor, he asked me, so where was the turning point in your life to turn to all that? And I said, well, me and my ex-wife split up, my life was falling apart. And he says, wow, so she left, so you decided to trash your life. I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, you really showed her who the fuck the boss was by fucking your whole life up, didn't you? And I was just like blown away by it. I was like, well, now that you say it like that, it's pretty silly. So I always tell people, if you're still struggling, or if you're in early recovery and you have a loss in life and you're trying to cope with that, you need to show that person what they lost, not what they left. So if you go and start using and destroying your life, all you're doing is proving to that person, place, or thing that you've lost in your life is that they made the right choice by leaving you. You need to succeed and do the best for yourself, and then those people or whatever it is will look back and be like, holy smokes, maybe I made a mistake by letting that person leave my life. That's probably one of the most powerful things I can say to someone that's struggling. And if you are struggling, you feel like you don't have a lot of people in your corner, when the reality is a lot of people do give a shit about you. There's people that you just gotta be able to be like, it's okay to not be okay, as cliche as that is. Sobriety is becoming more of a norm. Like, people that are struggling, they should be feeling free to talk about it. Because if you can talk about your problems, it takes the power away from the problem. Airing it takes a weight off your chest. You find someone you trust to talk to. I am super open about my recovery because I will just open up and talk to whoever about whatever about it, because you never know who's struggling. For all I know, you could be struggling behind the lens, and just maybe you're ashamed and don't want to talk about it, but if I talk freely about it and show that it's okay to not be okay, you'll be more willing to open up about your life.
Yeah, I agree. So for family and friends that are supporting a loved one, what do you think they should know to offer a non-judgmental support for someone who's going through this?
So you gotta got to be really careful because there's a fine line between helping and enabling. Lots of family members want to help with financial support, places to stay all the time, sort of stuff like that. But there's comes a point when all that stuff becomes enabling, because now an addict is the most manipulative person in the world. And I can say this because I was one. I could work whoever I wanted to work over in my family, out of my family. I could make them feel bad about themselves, or make them feel bad for me, so that I could get my way, and then therefore I'm never learning a lesson, because I could piss away all my stuff and know that my family's gonna bail me out every time. So there's a really, like, you can't turn your back on a person, but you also can't give too much. If you're trying to give just word advice, you gotta be really, that's a really gentle subject too, because one wrong thing said could trigger a person, and somebody could say things like, I heard a guy talking about this a couple months ago. Somebody might say, oh, I lost my job, it's the end of the world. Well, if you are trying to give that person advice and say, oh, it's just a job, man, like, it's not the end of the world, well, that's minimizing that person's feelings. So you gotta be really careful, because now that person's gonna feel like, holy, maybe I am fucked up. Maybe I shouldn't feel like it's the end of the world. There's something actually really wrong with me. So you just gotta kind of just be there and listen to a person, and just be there. So most addicts just need someone to talk to, and they don't need input back. They just need to talk, and you can just be there and like listen, and I hear you, and I feel for you, and that must be really hard. But yeah, it's kind of to your own discretion.
Sweet, man. So how have you figured out ways to forgive yourself for anything in the past you might have felt grief or guilt for?
That one I work on every single day. There's still things I've done years and years ago that I still hold on to pretty tightly, and it'll pass by me. I'm a truck driver, so I spend a lot of time alone, usually on the phone calling my friends to kind of distract myself at various times where I get alone and there's nobody on the phone, and I'll start playing things over. And you really gotta just realize that people are, like, humans aren't perfect and they make mistakes, so you shouldn't beat yourself up or hold yourself. Obviously don't just let it go unseen, but don't kill yourself over it, so to speak. Like, you gotta forgive yourself, and once you learn how to forgive yourself and realize that it's okay to make mistakes in life, and that's learning curves, your life will turn around 180%, and you'll start to succeed and take off in life.
So speaking of the things that you do on a daily basis, like maybe in your job or in your home life, what sort of practices or routines keep you going so that you can have and remain with long-term sobriety?
I've been sober for just over 4 years now, so I do a lot of like outreach work where I try and help other people struggling or just be there for people. That really helps me, is service work. Now, being in early recovery, I do not suggest that, because somebody's relapse or somebody's hardship in their life could trigger you and send you back into a spiral. But I really enjoy helping people and talking to others and spreading the message, and just showing attraction to sobriety. I try not to preach, so to speak, to people that, you know, you need to stop doing this or you need to stop doing that. I'm always like, well, that kind of stuff doesn't happen in my life anymore. And then people are like, yeah, I said, yeah, I used to do stuff like that, but not anymore, because I've been sober for this long. Yeah, I don't know, I got a few really good friends that I talk to every day on a daily basis, and we are always checking in on each other. It's kind of a thing where guys aren't supposed to have feelings, but you know what, you get some close bros and you just call them and you actually just check on them and see how they're doing that day. You be there for each other every day in life. And then good things will start to happen.
So how do you think something like what we're trying to build here as an online recovery service can benefit people who are either in short-term, long-term, or no sobriety at all?
So the online thing is awesome. We're very fortunate to have internet now, and the technology we do now for recovery. Actually, my first bit of recovery when I got out of treatment, I was on TikTok for a long time, and I grew up quite a large following, and there was a lot of really good people on there that I met that were sober, and they were really good sober influences for me. So this website's going to be awesome because no matter what time of day, where you are in the world, you'll be able to reach out to other people struggling, other people in recovery, with no judgment. Like, I remember sleepless nights, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when you're really feeling down. That's when you're sad. But nobody's there to answer. You can call. I started at the top of my phone list and all the way down. Nobody would answer. Maybe one person. And then you get 100 phone calls back the next day. But now you're coming down and you're feeling embarrassed, so you don't answer and you don't actually talk about it. You make up lie. My famous lie was, I don't know what my phone was doing. It was pocket dialing people last night. I'm sure people knew that that wasn't the truth after the 7th or 8th time that it happened. But this website, if there was something like that back then, I probably would have went on and just been there to talk to somebody or listen, just listening to other people's stories. I went to meetings for the first 2 years of my recovery, religiously, 3 times a week, and I just would listen to people. And and the more you listen, the more you realize you're not the only person like that. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you. Everybody is just who they are, and we just gotta learn to live with how we are. And the website is gonna make everybody realize that there's a lot more people out there that struggle than one would think, and help normalize addiction and not stereotype addicts as bad people. Well, thanks for the interview today. Hopefully it helps, and if anyone is struggling or knows someone that's struggling, just really try and reach out and not hide in the shadows. It's normal to not be okay, and things will turn around for you. So thanks.